part of your exam, you're going to be asked questions at some point about the rise of Hitler and how World War II breaks out. In order for you to understand that, you are going to need to understand, to a certain extent, the Treaty of Versailles and some of the terms in it. So the Treaty of Versailles was the treaty that was signed at the end of World War I. Germany had lost World War I. As a result of them having lost World War I, they signed the Treaty of Versailles on terms which are favourable to the victorious Allies. First of all, Germany are forced to acknowledge their guilt in causing all of World War I, basically. They are told to disarm. They have to get rid of their army, their navy, their air force, and so on. They have to pay significant amounts of money to the victorious parties as a means of rebuilding the countries that have been damaged by the war. And they also have to cede land. They have to give away land which is near their border territories over to other countries. So, once this has happened, another 10 years elapses, and this man, Adolf Hitler, starts getting involved in politics. As he starts getting involved in politics, there is a global depression, and whilst he's there, or whilst he's working in politics, he is constantly talking about how he's going to overturn the Great Depression, how he's going to make Germany powerful and great again. He promises to rebuild the army, he promises to turn Germany into a great European nation once more. And given that the country is going through a particularly difficult time, this is appealing to a great many people. He essentially says that he's going to tear up the Treaty of Versailles. So he starts doing this in a number of different ways. First of all, he promises to build a Großdeutschland, which means that he promises to destroy communism. You have to remember, at this time in the East, in the USSR, in Russia, it is now a communist country. So Hitler promises to destroy communism. He promises to expand into the Soviet Union and to create living space for German people all over Europe. He also promises to rearm. So in 1933, shortly after he comes to power, he goes to a disarmament conference. Whilst he's there, they have a discussion about everybody disarming. Unfortunately, Britain and France say, nah, we're not going to do that. And so Hitler goes back to Germany and he decides that he's going to rearm too, even though the Treaty of Versailles expressly forbids Germany being armed. So first of all, he introduces conscription, the size of the army grows. He then also introduces the Luftwaffe, which is the air force. The air force clearly grows. In 1935, the Saar rejoins Germany. The Saar is an area of Germany which is incredibly industrial, and it's a very valuable area to Germany, and that boosts their rearmament process. Also, in 1936, the Germans decide to send a whole load of their military produce out to Spain so that they can practice, basically. They can practice using the new goodies that they have been building, which goes contrary to the Treaty of Versailles. The next thing that he does is that he marches into the Rhineland. Part of the Treaty of Versailles says that they weren't allowed to have soldiers in the Rhineland. Hitler decides to send many soldiers into the Rhineland. This is directly in opposition to the Treaty of Versailles, and it's a massive gamble. Although Hitler is rearming, his army is not yet strong enough to fight effectively against the French. Now, when he sends his army, you will see here, he sends his army on bicycles. And the reason why he sends his army on bicycles is because if the French actually opposed his march into the Rhineland, his order was for them to retreat. Fortunately, for Hitler anyway, France and Britain did not oppose his march into the Rhineland, and he was successful in remilitarizing the Rhineland. The next thing that he does, which again is contrary to the Treaty of Versailles, is he starts to make allies. In 1936, he signs the Rome-Berlin Axis, which is a treaty for Mussolini and Hitler, who you can see behind me, to cooperate with each other, to work together. The next thing that happens is that between 1936 and 1937, the Anti-Comintern Pact is signed between Italy, Germany and Japan. All three countries pledge to fight against the spread of communism. In 1939, there is an official alliance signed between Rome and Berlin where they pledge military support to each other in the event that either of those two nations goes to war. And then later, 1 year after war in Europe has broken out, the Rome, Berlin and Tokyo Axis is signed. A formal pledge between those three countries that they will support each other in the event of war. Before, however, we get to that war, there is the small matter of Anschluss. At the end of World War I, Germany and Austria had been united in advance of World War I. At the end of World War I, the Treaty of Versailles dictated that they had to separate from each other. So Germany was able to, essentially, as part of the Anschluss, regain this area of land just here. What happened was this. Schuschnigg, who was in charge of Austria at that time, was forced to appoint Nazis into his government. Due to the pressure of Hitler saying that he wants to reunite Austria and Germany together, so he's forced to appoint Nazis into his government. He meets with Hitler, and again, under sort of pressure from Hitler, he agrees to hold a plebiscite. That's a bit like a referendum, where they are going to decide whether or not they want to reunite with Germany. Hitler, however, goes further, and he demands that Schuschnigg resigns from his post as being in charge of Austria. On the 12th of March 1938, Germany go right ahead and invade Austria. And once Germany have marched into Austria, they then have that plebiscite, which returns a 99.75% vote return in favour of German and Austrian unity. The next thing that he does, the final thing that he does, if you like, before the key steps into war, is that he tries to reunite the Sudetenland with Germany. The Sudetenland is the area around the border of Czechoslovakia. I'll show you that on a map in just a moment's time. In the Sudetenland, they are German-speaking people. It's an area which is militarily and industrially powerful. There are Czech Nazis in Czechoslovakia who start to make demands of Beneš. Beneš is the leader of the Czech Republic, sorry, not the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia at this time. Beneš doesn't do anything about those about the demands the Czech Nazis make, and so the Sudeten Germans start to riot. Hitler, riding to their rescue, obviously, then decides to invade the Sudetenland. There are, in the intervening period, some peace conferences which I will speak about on another video, but Germany basically claims the Sudetenland for themselves. So, in summary, before Hitler came to power, Germany was weak. It was suffering from the Great Depression. First of all, they claimed the Rhineland. They remilitarized the Rhineland. Then they reunited with Austria, the Anschluss, sorry, my fingers are going all over the place, and finally they marched into the Sudetenland. Germany, as Hitler promised, was becoming a great nation once more. There he is. What a tink.